So this is a story right here that I wasn't even looking for. I didn't even know even existed because it didn't really get talked about that much. But because of the outcome of what happened, I decided to talk about it and also address something that I believe is leading towards this and could lead to something like this in the future. So this person's name is Yulia Gilsh Gilston or Gilstein or something like that. I can't pronounce her last name for anything, but it doesn't really matter. And she's 40, and that's a haggard ass 45. But she was one of the people that was at the Capitol back in January, and they said there was dueling protests. Basically, you had people that was against and for or whatever was going on, and a black woman happened to be at the protest, but for the one that was against it. And I think I know what they're talking about. Because the night before, there was a protest going on away from the Capitol that, of course, the next day led to them actually being at the Capitol and getting into it. So I think this might have been talking about what happened before. Anyway, this woman right here decided she was going to spit on this black woman. Like, she spit on her. And they basically found out what she did, and she got hit with a hate crime. Like, they actually charged her with a hate crime for that. Let's fast forward to now. They pretty much have removed the hate crime charge and have now hit her with something called special probation, which means if she's able to achieve that, which she's most likely going to get, that means the hate crime charges that she had against her or any other charge along with it is going to be dropped. Now, they said special probation. I'm going to read this article because I already read what this so-called special probation is, but I want you to hear it for yourself from their mouth. And then I'm going to pause and tell you exactly what this means, because it's something some of you have probably heard. Not the special probation, but what this could lead to in the future when it comes to them. The white woman accused of spitting on a black woman and activist during dueling protests at the state capitol earlier this year was granted special probation Wednesday morning, despite the state's attorney's plan to pursue a hate crime charge against her. Yulia, whatever her last name is, allegedly 45, was granted accelerated rehabilitation, a special probation program for first-time offenders, in order to complete 100 hours of anti-hate curriculum over the next 2 years. If she successfully completes the program, her charges, including a felony hate crime charge of intimidation due to bias, will be dismissed. Now, I'm going to pause right there. If y'all have not heard, they are trying to push for racism or anything anti-black to be seen as a mental health crisis. I think that's what they're calling, not a mental health crisis or a health crisis or something like that. I'm sure some of you have already seen that. Now, notice that they want to label something a health crisis when PC is displaying clear and utter racism or anything that could be deemed as a hate crime against black people. But the Asian American community actually got something on the books, and that thing does not really even apply to them. And a lot of times the stuff that's happening with them isn't or shouldn't even be deemed as a hate crime, based on some of the stuff that I have seen. And notice with that too, that we really haven't seen a lot of quote unquote black people attacking Asians in the last couple of months. Have y'all noticed that too? Because I've definitely picked that up. But this is exactly why I was so worried about them trying to label racism as a health crisis or dub as a health crisis. I'm like, this is not a health crisis at all. Basically, they're trying to say that PC is so not well that whenever they do something like this, it's something in their mind that's triggering them that they gotta somehow diagnose. Basically, they're trying to make racism and Dub S something that is, like I said, that can be diagnosed, that needs some kind of medical attention, when that's really not the case. So they're trying to give them even more cover for the crap that they do, like what this woman did. And let's just put it out on the table. Let's just hypothetically say that this wasn't a hate crime. The fact of the matter is, she still committed a crime by spitting on someone. Last time I checked, spitting on someone not only is very unsatisfactory and disgusting and disturbing, but it's also known as biological warfare. You don't know what this chick had. She could have made that black woman sick. So at the end of the day, not only should this thing still be considered a crime, but she also deserves to have her ass beat. But they're going to make light of that. That part that I just stopped on to give this little excerpt is the main reason why I'm doing this video. Yulia was captured on video shouting "All Lives Matter" and spitting on activist and Power Up Manchester founder Corinne Prescott during competing demonstrations on the Capitol grounds while state lawmakers were sworn in on January 6th. Capitol Police arrested Yulia and initially charged her with a breach of peace, but Hartford State's Attorney Sharmise Walcott reviewed the case and upgraded the charges to include a hate crime and additional offenses, including third-degree attempt to commit assault and first-degree reckless endangerment and risk of injury to a child, court records show. Yulia apologized to Prescott during the hearing Wednesday morning, saying her attack was completely out of character, but the ruling infuriated Prescott and about 24 racial justice activists who joined her in the courtroom. "This is the epitome of white privilege," Prescott said, wiping away tears outside of the courtroom. "When she attacked me and the police didn't believe me, that was white privilege. When the police held me back and she was led away, that was white privilege." So it sounds to me, when she said held her back, it sounds like to me she was prepared to go and beat her ass, but she was held back and she couldn't do it. And that probably made her even more mad that they were protecting this woman from getting that ass whooping. The fact that she was in here today and didn't even get a slap on the wrist, that is white privilege. What is she going to learn walking away from this unscathed? What the judge did today was egregious and dangerous, and it set the tone for the next time. The case cut to the heart of the political and racial turmoil at the confluence of the Black Lives Matter movement, the conservative backlash to that movement, and even the anti-mask and anti-scene movement that has emerged during the COVID-19 pandemic. The attack itself happened just as mostly white insurrectionists stormed the U.S. Capitol, and Walcott's decision to personally prosecute Yulia signaled how seriously law enforcement would pursue potential hate crimes. Hartford Superior Court Judge Sheila M. Pratt acknowledged the political backdrop during her ruling Wednesday morning, but said she did not want her ruling to send any political message. Pratt also noted the severity of the incident itself after emotional testimony from Prescott. But remember, I always say after a but is bullshit. We've already gotten one, but we about to get another out of the same judge. But she said that is not enough to preclude Yulia from participating in the rehabilitation program. So here you have another judge, another white PC judge, female, on code for the woman who looks just like her. As far as we know, allegedly. And let's say hypothetically that she is white. To the black women out there, how's that sisterhood looking right about now? She forgoed what was right in order to be on code with another white woman and practically just let this bitch walk. For doing that was something that was so disturbing and so nasty and so tacky and so unbecoming of not only an adult, but a human being. She said all of this, but still felt that it was enough to send her to fucking rehab. And said she didn't want her ruling to send any political message. Fuck that. If you do what's right, it doesn't really matter what people think. See, this is the thing. When she said that, when this judge said that, it said to me, I'm scared of losing my job, and I want to stay in this position as long as possible. And if I do what's supposed to be right, I could potentially lose my judgeship or my judge position. That's what that screamed to me. So in that point, in that moment, that judge wasn't thinking about the victim. She was thinking about herself and her position. She don't need to be a judge. It is serious. It is serious to you. It's serious to this moment we're in, Pratt said. It's despicable. I don't believe Yalia 100% because if all life matters, she wouldn't do that to you. Yalia and her defense attorney, Ioannis Kaloidis, argued accelerated rehabilitation would be the best course of action for the immigrant. So she's not even from here, and it should have told me that based on her name. So she's not even from here. They argued accelerated rehabilitation would be the best course of action for the immigrant and former pharmacist who homeschools her children, but Walcott told Pratt she could not, in good conscience, agree to support their application for the program. And notice they had to throw in here that she was a former pharmacist and she homeschools her children. They had to pull at the heartstrings with that part. It is the most foul thing I have ever seen, Walcott said of the incident. It was absolutely disgusting, it was unprovoked, and it was uncalled for. I just cannot, as I sit here right now, say this defendant has shown over the past 6 months that she is committed to re-educating herself. I'm glad that the black people that's involved with this have some sense and actually can see through the bullshit. The people that's on the side of the black woman, I'm glad they have some sense. Now, I don't know whether or not they're black or not because they didn't specify what their race was. But hypothetically saying. Either way, I'm glad they have some sense and they can see through this BS. And that's what it is. And I'm glad they said this one thing. I cannot believe that after 6 months that they will plan on re-educating themselves. Like what I'm paraphrasing. And that's so true because remember how sometimes whenever there is a racial incident that happens, especially with a job setting, if they don't punish the person who did it, they'll give them some kind of a race relations based training course and stuff like that. That's initially what they're doing with her. We're going to send you to a special rehabilitation accelerated, and we're going to help to try to undo all the stuff you've learned. Really? And I've never even heard of this before. Have y'all ever heard of this? Because I've never heard of it. Kaloidis agreed her actions that day were despicable, but, there's another but, he countered that she has always expressed remorse. He said the attack was not motivated by hate or racism, but by a serious amount of stress. Aww. There it is. In Yalia's personal life, and he added that she's already started counseling. Well, if she was so stressed out, why the hell did she go to that damn Capitol? Was that a stress reliever? I swear the excuses. And they talk about us not taking accountability. That's a bunch of bullshit. Look at this bitch. Look at this raggedy, haggard ass bitch. Spat on somebody. They took so much leniency and comforted her. Everybody. Her attorneys, the judge, all of them. No comfort for the victim. But we're the ones that's supposed to be accountable for everything. Even shit that we don't do. They can't even be accountable for the shit that they do. But see, now they're trying to make it seem like it's the black woman's fault. She's the victim. She's the one that got spat on. Now, I know what some of you are probably going to say. Why was she even out there? Good question. and when they said why was she out there, this is about the black woman. They said she was at a dueling protest, meaning she was going against whatever it is that they were out there for. And this woman right here spat on her. And she's an immigrant. So she's not even from here. The fact of the matter is this bitch spit on her. That was bad. That was, woo. Just even saying those words, spit on you or spit on somebody, that just leaves a bad feeling that comes over me. Like, that shit enrages me when I hear stuff like that. That is one of the worst things you could ever do to somebody. Is let a chemical agent fly out of your mouth and land anywhere on someone's body or clothing. And like they said, they held that black woman back because she was about to go and get this woman, and rightfully so. So even then, she got protection some more from getting her ass beat for what she did, and it would have been just well and justified had she put hands on her. Prescott gave a tearful speech to Pratt about the lingering mental, emotional, and physical effects of the attack on her and her young family, and Pratt commended Prescott for her behavior in the face of the attack that day, likely preventing an all-out brawl between protesters and counter-protesters. But Prescott was devastated by Pratt's ruling and was escorted outside the courthouse. Hold on. So you mean to tell me that this judge actually literally gave some kind of backhanded compliment for the testimony that the victim gave, but you still gave this bitch accelerated rehabilitation? See, at that point, I would have tried to throw the book at the damn judge. They would have held me in contempt of court. But Prescott was devastated by Pratt's ruling and was escorted outside the courthouse in tears by her supporters and members of her Power Up group. She and her attorney, Ken Krajewski, both argued a judge would not have accepted accelerated rehabilitation had it been a black woman caught spitting on a white woman. If I was white, I would have gotten justice today, Prescott said. I ain't gonna lie. This hurts. This is a big hurt. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is a story right here that I did not expect to come across and do. But so glad that I did find and have a chance to speak on. Like, this shit right here. And I know what y'all are saying. Torian, you shouldn't be surprised that this is the outcome. I know that we shouldn't be surprised by this stuff, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't call it out either and still be furious about it at the same time. And remember, I know like it may have gotten lost because this video is kind of lengthy. Remember, they are trying to make it where being dub-S or being racist or anything like that, especially when it comes to black people, they're trying to make it a mental health crisis. And these are the same people that love to scream out mental health or something to that effect. You know, a health crisis. And I forgot who or what lawmaker I heard that from. But if they were to successfully do that, expect more of this to happen in the future. Because then they'll hang and lean on that and they'll get away with damn near anything. Almost anything. And this right here is a perfect example of it.